The next few videos are going to be on bookmaking. I'm going to be making a book from start to finish. It is made. The book is completed. I am in editing mode. However, we're at about 3.5 hours currently, and it's way too long. I want to keep my videos an hour at the longest. Even that's a little bit too long. I mean, sitting through an hour of a YouTube videos may be painful for some. So I thought, let's take out small little chunks of the video and create their own separate videos attributed to parts of making the book. So the video this week is on book cloths. That is the cover of the book. I'm going to be showing 2 methods on creating book cloth. I'm going to be making it out of fabric. I've done my research. I've tried various methods. These are the 2 that I find appropriate for anyone, whether you're a novice or an expert bookmaker. Hopefully they'll find this helpful, this video. So, yeah, let's get started. That's next on The Fellow Hobbyist. I mentioned that I was going to show my 2 preferred methods of making a book cloth. Now, I'm in no way an expert at this. However, whenever I delve into a project, I do thorough research. I've browsed the internet, I've viewed multiple YouTube channels, I've tried various methods, and these are the 2 preferred methods that I want to show. When my mother passed a number of years ago, she had 2 of those plastic containers, those 25-gallon ones, I think that's the size, full of fabric. I went through them and I chose a couple that were nice. So this is like a dark burgundy, dark maroon color fabric, and I thought it would be appropriate to make the recipe book. Well, let me just talk about the recipe book for a second here. As with 90% of the population, most likely, your recipes are contained in a folder or in a book with thousands of loose pages with written down recipes, clippings, copied recipes. I chose to make a recipe book. I took all the recipes, my favorites, and spent months working on a Word document, putting it all together. I think it's 214 pages of recipes that I want to make into a book. So here we are. That's the next project. We're making a recipe book. The content is produced. I've recorded the videos for the book. It is made. However, I wanted to try to get this all into one video. And to get it into one video and to try to get it under an hour, I had to do a couple of takes outside of that original video, and this is one of them, the book cloth. So I have the fabric here. I'm cutting down into the appropriate size. I have the sizes already measured. I have the book boards already measured, so I know what size I'm cutting it. So we're going to cut 2 sections of the fabric to size, and we're going to make 2 book cloths, one wet, one dry. So meaning the dry method is going to be using a backing, and the second method will be a paste. It'll be a mix of paste and a print medium. I've tried various methods. I tried paste alone. I've tried PVA glues alone. I've tried paste and PVA, starch paste, wheat paste. The method that I'm choosing is a wheat paste, and it's a Liquitex medium combination. However, the first method will be a backing, and we'll get to that in a second here. I'm cutting the cloths down to size. During my bookmaking project, I made various mistakes, and I'm showing those mistakes. I think, you know, if you're an expert at making a book or an expert at making book cloths, these videos aren't for you. These are for not the newbie, but those that are interested, those that are into it for a while. I show the mistakes that I made only to prevent you from making the same mistakes. It's a journey together. We learn from our mistakes. We want to show our mistakes for others to learn. So that's why this isn't one of those channels. I've mentioned this before. This isn't one of those channels where everything's perfect. This isn't one of those channels that only show perfection. I believe in showing the mistakes. I'm ironing the book cloth. I've put just a scrap piece of particle board underneath this is just a miniature ironing board, only because in the past I've put this ironing board over the cutting mat and the heat went through and kind of warped the cutting mat. So the particle board, or you can just any scrap, plywood, whatever, I keep that over the cutting mat just as a insulator from the cutting mat. So we ironed the sheets, the fabric first. We want them perfectly flat. I'm ironing both together. Here I'm showing what I'm using. I'm using heat and bond. This is the ultra hold. There are various thicknesses, I guess, of the heat and bond. This is my second use of this one package. I found out after I purchased this from the fabric store that you can purchase this. Oh, camera fell. I found out that you can purchase this by the yard for the same price. So when I go back to the fabric store, I'll purchase the heat and bond from the roll. So don't buy it from the package, buying it by the yard. So the first method, we're gonna apply the heat and bond to the back of the fabric. And afterwards, we're going to apply a sheet of tissue paper as a backing. So basically the heat and bond is an adhesive in between the fabric and the tissue paper. Others use these Japanese papers, rice papers, I don't know what, but I'm just using tissue paper. It's fine. Both of these methods I was happy with. I'll show you the differences. There's a couple of differences and a couple of reasons why you would use either method. The heat and bond method is quicker, it's less messy. I'll just mention that now. I'm cutting the heat and bond to size, as I know the size that is required. Usually you'll just make this larger, you'll just make a large sheet if you don't know the size of the book that you're making. And I'm cutting the tissue paper to the same size. Again, only because I do know the size. This wasn't required, this step. I could just cut it down to size after. I'm going to trim it again anyway. It's just extra work, so you know, the next time I'll just make them larger and trim it down to size. Less work, so. That's one takeaway for me. You're trimming it anyway. Why trim it twice? Why do I have to be precise here? I don't. The tutorial on making the book will be next week's video. I'm editing it right now. As mentioned, I want to try to keep it under an hour. It seems to be the sweet point for YouTube videos, or so I've been told. I don't have the viewership yet. I'm hoping to get there. Like and subscribe, guys. It really helps. no cost to you. So you take the fabric, take the back side of the fabric, whichever side looks nicest is the front. Apply the heat and bond face down, and we're going to iron it on a low setting. Instructions are on the package. I think it's a silk setting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. This iron is fairly old, so I believe I went on a higher temperature than the silk. Regardless, it did no damage. You just don't want it on the highest heating. You don't want to burn the paper, but it's not going to burn anyway, so just rubbing off some glue from the ironing board. So I've ironed on the heat and bond. I'm taking off the backing, and it should show the adhesive, which is a shiny coating. If I can get my fingernails in there and take off the backing, and there we go. So there you have it. And from here, we'll add the tissue paper, which will be placed on top. You iron it again, it'll melt that, I guess not melt it, but it will heat it enough to, I guess, melt it, and adhere the tissue paper to the fabric. Just checking to make sure there's no additional papers there. I got it clean. Applying the tissue paper. It says to iron on approximately 1 second. 1 second is enough heat to adhere it. I went back and forth a few times. This isn't rocket science. Fabric with a tissue paper backing, and again I used this method for the book I made. It was applying some steam. You don't want any steam applied when you're applying this. So there you have it. As mentioned, I'm trimming it now, which was double the work. I'm trimming it to size again only because I do know the exact size I need. I've done my measurements, I have my template. There you have it. Okay, method number 2. This is a wheat paste. I won't go through a tutorial on how to make it. It's basically, you got 1 cup of water, you add 1 heaping spoon of flour. I'm using all-purpose heaping teaspoon. You add it to the cold water and you warm it up to a slight little boil. And then you run it through a strainer, and you have the wheat paste. It lasts for a couple of days. I keep mine in the freezer, just make it last longer. And again, I'm adding some matte medium to it. The matte medium I have is thick, so I thinned it down with some water, and I'll apply a 50-50 mixture. And this will be my mix. It's a wheat paste matte medium. A medium, it's a 50-50 paste medium mixture. The paste does get thick in the fridge. I'm just thinning it down. There are no lumps in it. I've run it through a strainer, so giving it a good mix here. We'll combine it properly. Quickly. Just back to the paste. Most people use a bain-marie or a double boiler. I don't. I just put it on a low setting on the flame. I'm not going to burn it. You just keep watch over it. When it thickens, you take it off the flame. So. No need for a double boiler. Okay, you take the cloth, and we're just going to apply the paste medium mixture to both sides. You want to do the back side first, or the inner side. It'll take quite a bit of paste as it's going to soak through the cloth. Give it a good, nice little soaking. Make sure it's every inch and corner has the paste medium mixture. We'll just call the mix applied to it. I'm using an old paintbrush to apply it. This has become my glue brush, my preferred glue brush. And once the back is done, you flip it over and do the front. Same sequence, only that you won't need as much of the mixture on the front as it has already soaked through the fabric. I am applying it on just a cardboard with a plastic sheet, covering it just for the paste not to stick to it and easy removal. A lot of people use either plastic or glass. I don't think that's required. You don't need to have a sheet of glass attributed to just making book cloth. So once it's applied evenly, make it as smooth as you can. You leave it overnight, let it dry. You come back in the morning and you tear it off. And there you have it, it's done. Now you'll see that you need to keep this clean. I kept mine in the workshop and it got a little bit messy. It's one of the other reasons why I'm not using this book cover for the book. So here are the differences. The paste book cloth becomes a little bit darker. It's a slightly rougher texture than the heat and bond. However, the foil, if you're applying foil, if you want to add some lettering to the book cloth, will adhere to this method. Foil will not adhere to the heat and bond method. I'm assuming that's because the heat and bond method, the fabric, the weaving there, it's not, there's gaps in between the weaves and it doesn't stick to it. I don't know. It looks like the foil is adhering to the glue, the paste, and that's why it's sticking and it doesn't stick to the other method. So foiling does not adhere to the heat and bond method, the backing method, whereas it does adhere to the paste method. So if you want to apply foil, do add it. Do use the paste method. Here's the book that I made. I used the heat and bond for the book. Turned out really nice. You can see it's slightly lighter color than the paste method. I mean, these are in the workshop, they got a little bit dusty. But for all intents and purposes, these are the two methods I prefer. I'm gonna be using the paste method for my next book. Thanks for joining, really appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Talk to you guys next week where we're making that book. Bye. you.